Okay, welcome today to a class on Francis Bacon. Now, firstly, I want to straight away make it clear that Francis Bacon is not Roger Bacon. Roger Bacon is another philosopher, and he's very easily confused with Francis because he was arguing in favour of a very similar position much earlier as well, 300 years earlier. Roger Bacon was around in the 13th century, like Thomas Aquinas. Whereas Francis Bacon was around in the 16th, 17th century at the turn, about 1600s, early 1600s, late 1500s was Francis Bacon. Now, they both argued similar things, and that's why it's easy to muddle them up. But I want to make it clear that Roger Bacon is famous for being the first person in Europe, I believe, to write down, well, let's not put it like that, he is one person who we know had written down a gunpowder recipe. And this is the very well-known gunpowder recipe that we still use today, which is like saltpeter of a certain proportion, that's potassium nitrate, mixed with charcoal. They used to use charcoal, but you can use sugar or anything else with a lot of carbon in it. And so that's the gunpowder recipe, and that's what Roger Bacon is, well, it's one thing that Roger Bacon is famous for. He wrote it down, and we still have that piece of writing where he recorded his gunpowder recipe. And so that shows us that gunpowder was definitely in Europe in the 13th century. And Roger Bacon said some of these things. He said that knowledge of languages is the doorway to wisdom. So he was very into languages and grammar. He also said, or maybe he did, I might be mixing, sometimes you find quotes and you think, this could be Francis Bacon, because Francis Bacon certainly said something similar. It is easier for a man to burn down his house than get rid of his prejudices. And we will see something very similar in Francis Bacon. Grammar is one and the same in all languages, though it may vary accidentally in each of them. Now, I teach a lot of English grammar, and I happen to agree that grammar is the same in different languages. You have adjectives, nouns, verbs, participles, gerunds in different languages. And so I do agree that grammar is one and the same in various languages, and this means that some people might argue that grammar is innate, that it's some kind of innate, a priori knowledge. It's something that you don't need to learn, but is already inside of you, perhaps in your genetics or something like that. Chomsky is famous for arguing this, that grammar is in some way genetic. At this time, Descartes was certainly suggesting that mathematics in some kind of way was self-evident, and so some people were suggesting that mathematics was innate, that it was some kind of innate knowledge in comparison with empirical knowledge. Okay, and Roger Bacon also spoke about maths. He said knowledge of mathematical things is almost innate in us, and that's interesting because I want you to think about whether knowledge is innate, whether some forms of knowledge, such as mathematical knowledge, is innate or not. Is it something we have to learn, or is it something that's already inside of us in some kind of way, and it's something which is realised through our life? Now, I happen to think this word innate is not a very good word. It's perhaps not very clearly defined. I'm going to criticise the word innate in the same way that Francis Bacon criticises how we use language, because Francis Bacon says that some of our words are ill-defined, and I think that this could be true with innate. What does it actually mean if knowledge is innate? I mean, because nobody has it when they're 2 months old, 3 months old. Nobody has any knowledge then, do they? And so, I'm not sure that we really understand what we mean when we say innate. Lastly, Roger Bacon said the things of this world can't be known without a knowledge of mathematics. And again, this is something which I think, especially